Thank you for coming. You guys made the right choice. This is going to be a lot of fun. Yes. How many of you I've spoken with before? I think I've spoken with quite a bit of you. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm going to come here and support her. So we'll see how it goes. Um, and one thing is I didn't see a lot of people on SwapCard like talking. So if you're like doing the virtual thing, please, like I'm going to seriously like be on chat here and watching. So please do say something if you're on. Just say like hello or something. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. All right, I'm Ellyse Cedeno, and we're going to be talking a little bit about like, it's going to be a little bit soft. We're going to see how this all goes because I've never talked about this before, but it's something I've wanted to talk about in general. So thank you for being my guinea pigs. Would you guys rather see this kind of presentation, or do you want me to bring up live view and we'll see it through that? Who wants live view? Like, what is that? I don't know. Okay, let's try that instead. I made a little site. Slowly. I think like soft talks are often about like going slow and thinking about it, having time to reflect about yourself and the subject. And the title's Softly and Surely. So I really love retro stuff. Like, I don't know if you can tell, right? This isn't like a thing about Matrix, but it's really about like VT100s and, you know, like old school kind of stuff. And I recently learned Erlang, and it feels like I'm back in my VT100. Nothing, that's great, you know, there's nothing negative about that. So yeah, thank you for coming. So I'm going to talk about myself a little bit first. It's something I don't like to do. I'm always afraid that it'll come across like self-aggrandizing, like, oh my God, I'm so great or something. No, it's more about like, don't dwell. That was a note to myself. I can end up talking way too much. So yeah, I don't even remember what I was saying, but like self-esteem is sort of like really an important part of all of this. And I really like, Max, your talk where you talked about like imposter syndrome and things like that. And I suffered from this a lot because I think I'm pretty smart, but like I could never do school. I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of university. I did computer science, but I just couldn't stick it. So that was difficult. And a lot of this stuff like affects you when it comes to like your career, how you negotiate with people, right? Because you're like, do I know what I'm talking about? Am I good enough? So everyone has whatever, like maybe for me it was being a dropout. Maybe for other people you got your things, right? But I'm talking about sort of like my atypical life. And in the end of it, I think I'm really happy that I have this atypical life. And I think it'll be part of like the story here. So I joined Netscape pretty early on. I did like web crawlers and search engines. Oh, we're doing a picture? Okay. Can we get like, can we do a thing where everyone comes up and we all say hi? Or is that like, yeah, guys, can you do this for a second? We got to make it look like we'll definitely be on like the homepage or something, you know? We got to like take a quick picture real quick. Come on, guys. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I don't think the big room can do this, right? All right, guys. We got it. Yay! You got it? Best talk ever, right? All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Talk is done. We got our reward. Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to be at the center of the internet, you know? It was like, what is this internet thing? And I was at Excite. I don't know if you guys know this. Who even knows what Netscape is? Is that like something? Okay, so you guys know, right? And it was all static. Can you believe it? I was like, I'm going to the mecca of whatever, right? Internet. And they're like, oh, we're all static pages because we don't think we can serve things fast enough. Apache wasn't there or something. So I got to build with my team, I got to build basically what is like Apache, but custom built for Netscape, right? And AOL purchased us, they used us. My team built RSS, but like I never was a believer. I was so wrong. And during work, I would like go out and fly planes, like I would just sneak out and just like fly planes, learn how to fly a plane, got my pilot's license, because why not, right? And then I fell in love with functional programming, Little Schemer, Little Lisper. I love those books. So basically, I was like, I got the opportunity to start a company. Netscape had so many, you heard of Andreessen and all these guys, right? Like they had so many people who were like doing things afterwards, and they were throwing money at us. I was like, yeah, I'll start a company doing Scheme. I could not hire people to write Scheme. Can you believe it? It's like the easiest language to learn, and like developers would just be like, nah, I don't. I'm just going to do PHP. And then I love video games, right? So I was like, well, I want to go into the games industry, but you hear like EA and everything, you got to start with QA and everything. So how about just start a game company, right? It was a real learning experience for me. But what's interesting is I started to get this like, oh, I forgot about this. I wasn't sure if I should put this in here. I was working on MMORPG servers, right? So backend, lot of threads and stuff like that. That's why I love Elixir now. And then like we were working on sort of like behavioral aspects with the Department of Defense, and I thought it was just a game. And then like later we see the project we worked on was actually part of the Snowden leak. I was like, oh, I keep forgetting. Okay, but then afterwards, because I did this game startup, I got to be VP at a game company. You may have heard of like Nickelodeon Game Studio, but also MTV and other places that I've worked at, and got to run a game studio because I learned a little bit from that thing. And then one of my friends called me up and said, I'm like going to be CEO of a biotech startup. Do you want to join? I don't know anything about biotech. Well, I joined. And then I ended up like being hired by Icahn School of Medicine as a faculty member. I had barely a bachelor's at that time. I did like, the online school thing. And so I got to like be a lecturer and at the genetics and genomic sciences. And then I moved to Ireland. I headed up an office doing marketing. I never did marketing. And then I found a bunch of fraud happening. People got fired. I moved to France, didn't know any French, learned French, joined a French startup doing MMORPGs, and became fluent. So like basically, a lot of this is like trying to do things, trying to figure out your way, right? Daring to do it, and learning a lot along the path. So before we continue, I would just like to ask you guys, who are you? So the question is, are you getting to use a Beam language or whatever? Are you happy with the main tech that you're using now? Go take your phone out. Is there any, no, come on guys on card swap or swap card, like do something. So you should be able to like click there and let's see if this, oh yes, you are using the stuff you want. Yes, come on nose, come on nose, we can win. Why are you here? Get out. Who are you happy people? All right, that's awesome. So it's interesting, right? Like a lot of us are getting, this is what I've heard just like talking to people here is a lot of people, I'm like, what's keeping you from using the tech you want? And they're like, I am using it. I'm like, oh, that's great. So many people, this is something to think about. So about half, right? Someone's playing around, stop it. And then the other question is like, what do you do? So just like write an answer about like, what's your job or hobby? Not all of us need like a job, right? So what's your main thing and what tech are you using, right? That'll help me understand like who I'm talking to, but it's also fun for you guys to see like who else you guys are talking to too, right? Is this working? Oh, yeah, you have time to write Atom VM. I just learned nerves. I don't know. I did a talk in Goatmeyer where I learned nerves and like made my theremin instrument. That was so fun, right? That's partly how I'm able to talk here because I got to know those people. Elixir and Rust. Computers. Who's computers? Yeah, it's like I do everything. That's someone who like basically does everything, right? DNS and Erlang. Wow, you guys are so special. This is what's so special about this community is like you'll see everything, right? I have to get to Atom, like because I want to use an ESP32. Boring Java. Okay, here's the no. Someone wrote no. There they are, Java. But distributed system, I did an MMORPG server in Java and it works, but yeah. Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about like some general stuff. So some anti-patterns here, right? Like a lot of developers I found, because I've worked quite a bit with and ran teams for a while, and I see some people get promotions and success who don't really deserve it, and other people left behind, and I talk to them. And a lot of times they're like, they have this idea that it's like, well, if I do good work, everything will work out for me, right? There's also this sort of like very, dare I say, German approach to it, where it's like you come up with a logically constructed plan of how you're going to talk about the thing you want to do, right? And then you talk about it, and it falls sometimes on deaf ears, right? I will dazzle you with my plan and genius and architecture, and it doesn't quite work out the way you expected. Sometimes it does, but you need this like vibe check, right? This approach can work. And some people are awesome at this. People who go to school, who don't drop out, they just like do the right thing and they get there. But sometimes there's a lot of politics and other things going on, and you have to like figure out a softer way to get to where you want to go. And that's what we're going to be talking about. The vibe check thing is really interesting because a lot of developers sometimes don't have as much of a skill here, and I want to talk about it more, but I think that would take a whole talk also. But if you're interested in like doing the direct approach, I've never read a better book than Getting Past No by William Ury. It's not like, you know, those people who are like, I'll teach you a technique to sell cars or whatever. It's not like that. It's about like durable, good negotiations. Very, very good book on that. So the other framing that I wanted to add is like luck. I think it's an interesting thing to look at luck. I feel like I'm lucky. People tell me I'm lucky. But what is luck? It's sort of like you want to be lucky. You want it to seem like effortless that you got there. And when you see people who succeed, they often look like they got there without trying, right? But it's usually not the case. We talked about this, getting the promotion, convincing others with arguments and they win. What is this about? So the question is, can we become lucky, right? And this is probably, I think I've had this discussion with lots of people where people have talked about what is luck and what makes someone lucky. Do you guys want to take a second and write some things down? I had a flight that I missed, only flight I ever missed. How much time do I have here? I just forgot about it. I just slept in, right? And I was going home. And what happened is I called them the day after, and they were like, "Oh, we're so sorry." I'm like, "Wait, no, I'm sorry." They're like, "No, we're sorry. Your plane had an emergency landing, and you know, apparently it was a big mess." So there's luck, right? Rich parents, nepotism. That's very lucky, and it helps a lot. Preparation is something we talked about. Lucky is right time, right place. The chances. Oh, you're lucky. Who said that? Who wants to be my friend? Make sure we connect on LinkedIn or wherever. The harder I work, the luckier I get. Yeah, that's interesting. Preparation and skill. I like that one. So, okay. So I'm going to talk. Okay, I'm not a crypto bro. I'm not into this, but I thought it was an interesting thing. It's about a numbers game, right? Like you see some people who are trying to get hired in this environment, and they just go through so many interviews, some of them, right? And maybe you don't hear about it, but you hear about the fact that they got a job in a month or something like that. And yeah, that works. You have to try. But the other thing I think about is that luck is an active thing. When we're looking at like, I want to use Elixir, some Beam language at work or whatever it is that you're trying to get done, I think this is an active process. But a lot of people, if you're stuck in the, if it makes sense, we'll be doing it, I'll show them how great it is. that is a different thing. I don't know if anyone uses like poll and select anymore with like Unix C or something like that. You know, you have a file descriptor and like you're polling it and polling it and polling it. That's what I feel like luck is a little bit like. You have to feel like you're actually working for it. You're not sitting there and waiting for it to time out, right? You're not going to get anywhere. Who plays D&D or any kind of RPGs? Uh, we're going to skip this joke then. And the other thing is a lot that like opportunities can transpose into something else, right? So if something doesn't seem like the thing you actually want, maybe you can look at it and say, can I eventually make it so that it is the thing I want? And this is where you have like heuristic functions, right? Like whatever it is, the greedy algorithm, A star. Does it get me closer to what I want, right? So switching groups, whatever it is at work, will it actually get me closer? And the thing that's really interesting about Beam is how many processes you can spawn, right? Like, I just love that I can just think like, oh, I'll just spawn a process for every user and keep state, and like they'll be the proxy for the user. What if there's like, what if there's thousands or hundred thousands? It's okay. And I think like luck is a little bit like that. You want to spawn 100,000 little like gen servers, you know, that actually do work for you in the background. And it doesn't have to be tiring, you know. Anybody here into like musicals? All right. Sorry? So Hamilton, right? What's the song in Hamilton about? Anyone? Yeah, the I'm not throwing away my shot. There's this attitude of scarcity, of like I'm going to squander my opportunity. And so sometimes people hesitate. You have like a good contact that you have, you know, a good situation with your boss. They're like in a good mood, but you know, maybe now's not a good time. And really like the way I think that can approach, like I've seen some really good marketing, oh crap. I've seen really good marketing people. I've seen really good marketing people where they plan everything and they make sure of all the contingency things. I really like Elixir and Beam language because it's like, let it crash. Like just go for it, because, you know, if you have this mentality that there's always going to be another way of doing it, then take the shot, you know? I think that's something else to consider. So my mother's Korean, and I grew up with a fairy tale called Hyungbu and Nobu. And it's kind of, I'm not going to tell you the story, I don't have time for it. But it's about like one guy who's greedy, has everything, right? And the other person's kind-hearted. I'm going to play the role of the kind-hearted person. But I have a friend who's not mean, greedy, or whatever, but he knew like top tier movie people, top tier directors, VCs all over the place. You know, basically like has all the opportunities, but he was always like afraid of actually contacting them because it's like, I'm only going to get one chance. And so now he's struggling. And I'm always like, I still talk to him. And I'm like, why don't you just connect? And it can be scary. But just last week, I told you I like retro stuff. I went to the Paris Games Week, and I love retro programming. I do 6502 assembly programming and stuff like that. And like I'm like, this can never be a job, right? This can't be a job. But I went to the Paris Games Week. They have a little retro section, and there's a console called Vectrex. I don't know if anyone knows it. They do like vector-based, you know, you play the Star Wars video game in the old days, whatever. And I met him, and I talked to him for a long time about programming. It's the Motorola 6809, I believe. And like, where am I going with this? So like, his Kickstarter was launching the next day. He had no idea how well it was going to do. He was aiming for like 150,000 or something like that. It's close to 1 million now, right? And he was like, if I get 1 million, I want you to build me a game. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to say the word I want to say. I have an opportunity to actually get paid to do retro programming. Like, it's a little planting, a little effort to show up, to connect, and see what happens. And you know, the opportunity actually can come up. So the other thing is like changing the namespace. Sometimes like you're so stuck and focused on one area of your job. Like, I need to make this whatever code base into Elixir or something like that. But there's lots of other namespaces probably where you work. And in general, this is like a good thing to think about. Like, there's other repos, there's other projects, and every company is understaffed, right? They always need more people. Tooling is a very interesting place because I had a manager, one of my best managers, he would, at Netscape, and he wrote everything in Lisp, even though everything else was in C, right? Because everything for him was tools. No one else needed to use it. So you can start out small. I was going to enter something here about the intermediate value theorem. If you basically have something small, everything that's big had to be small at some point. So like, unless it's nepotism, but like, you know, this slide I like. So Elixir guards and as our gatekeepers, right? Lots of places have gatekeepers. The world works on basically once you have something to protect, like something's working, you have gatekeepers so that it won't get messed up. And what do gatekeepers do? They say no, right? So these are kind of like guards, right? You have this kind of like function. Who writes guards everywhere though? I know I don't write guards all the time, right? Type specs maybe, but not guards. But like, this kind of thing you're never going to get through in real life, right? Like if every function you run into is like this, you're not going to pass the guard. You want a function like this. Don't ever write functions like this, but this is what you want in real life, right? So you'd rather have a supervisor because when you basically fall through the cracks, now HR, now your manager, now whoever doesn't know what to do. They can't just say no. They're like, we don't have like a playbook for this. And that's when you can actually try to negotiate with them and figure out where can we go from here. So that was that talk. Oh, I work with this guy. I'm going to say his name, Brad Porter. He's at Amazon. No, he started a company doing robots now, like as one is to do. But I was pretty young early in my career, and he was like, he's writing all these docs all the time about the work we're doing. I'm like, why are you doing this? We got code to write, right? And he was like, what was it he said? He said, you write it, you did it, always put your name down on everything, right? And it's a very interesting thing because it's not always that you did good work. It's about do the people remember your name, right? And if you're in that mind share of like, oh, they're okay, but like we need someone, they'll be like, oh, that person, I know them, right? So every company I've worked with, I spent time with the CEO, no matter how big it was. I think it's important to have like, okay, we don't have time. But here's the thing I wanted to say. We're out, right? My work, they said they let me come. Join their Discord if you feel like it. You don't have to. And like tell them I sent you. They'll be like, holy cow, I can't believe people actually like whoa. Oh crap. There. That's the Discord link if you feel like it. And last thing is my contact info. I'm not trying to look for a job. I have too much. But if you want to connect, I am friendly. I would love to talk with you just for fun. Feel free. Thank you so much, everyone.